Today we are back with a new 2025 Toyota 4Runner, the 6th gen. This is a Trailhunter. This week I've spent a little bit more time behind the wheel of this. I've lived with it. I haven't just gone to a Toyota event, driven it for a couple hours. I've actually spent some time behind the wheel of this and gotten to know it a little bit. This top trim Trailhunter is pretty cool. It's got a lot of great features. We'll go over those here in a minute. But in this video, I just kind of want to talk about what it's like to live with this new 6th gen, because I think it's very cool that Toyota is creating an enthusiast, ready to go off-road / overlanding capable 4Runner from the factory. Granted, you're paying a lot of money for it. This thing almost costs $70,000 as tested, but it offers a lot of value, and it's cool to have a warranty with a Snorkel intake, frame-mounted rock sliders, 33-inch open country AT tires. We've got rigid fog lights. We've got a light bar back there. I mean, gosh, what else do you really want to do to your overlanding rig besides what Toyota has done here already? We even get a nice big roof rack up here. Look at this. Nice. This Trailhunter has the iForce Max powertrain, which means it has a 2.4-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder paired with an electric motor. That makes 323 horsepower, 465 pound-feet of torque. You lose a few horsepower with the Snorkel intake, but it sounds so cool, who cares? It'll tow 6,000 pounds. We still get the roll-down rear window. Look at that, just hold the unlock button. Nice, I put stuff in there. And you can roll it back up by locking the vehicle or just pressing the up button here. Underneath, we've got a 33-inch full-size spare tire. It looks like it fits pretty well in there. It hangs kind of low, almost as low as the rear diff, but it shouldn't be too big of a catch point off-road. This still has very good ground clearance. Really, the biggest compromise with this Trailhunter trim in terms of storage space, etc., is just the fact that there is a battery pack in the back, and it raises the load floor about 4 or 5 inches. So you get a little bit less cargo space in this, but still it's a nice flat space, and there's a decent amount of vertical height here. You have some room here to put some things, but behind this, that is all battery packed. There's no storage underneath. There is still a decent amount of storage room back here, though you might have to pack a little lighter than you would in like a Tier D off-road trim or something like that. One cool thing, because this is a hybrid, you get a AC 120 volt 2400 watt outlet right here, JBL sound system, and this has an onboard air system, so you can air your tires up with this, and then you've got your connections in here somewhere. That's neat to have from the factory. Interior space feels like it's almost shrunk a little bit in this latest 6th gen, whereas the exterior has gotten larger. This is a bigger 4Runner now. It shares the same platform with the Land Cruiser, the GX. It's just a larger vehicle. It's wider, it's longer. Inside, the back seat just feels a little bit more cramped compared to the 5th gen. I'm 5'10". This is my driving position. I have enough room in here, but headroom a couple inches. These backrests are adjustable. That helps. We've got a good water bottle cup holder storage solution right here. I like the trimming in this Trailhunter. The interior looks and feels pretty high quality, though it honestly just looks the same as it does in the Tacoma. There's definitely a more family-friendly and more spacious back seat area than what's in the Tacoma. I think it's enough room ultimately for the class, but just something to note that it is a little bit smaller back here in the 6th gen 4Runner. We get rear vents, another 120 volt 2400 watt outlet back here, a couple USB ports, a map seat back pocket. Curb weight on this is around 5,500 pounds, depending on how you spec it. We've got a steel roof rack, body-mounted rock sliders, lots of underbody skid plating. This stuff gets heavy, as well as the iForce Max powertrain. The battery pack isn't light either. So this is going to be a little bit heavier of a Toyota 4Runner. You don't really feel it on the road. The suspension is tuned really well. We have OME shocks here that perform really well on and off road, as well as specific Trailhunter upper control arms. Those look good. I'll top inside, start this up, and walk you around it just a little bit more. We've got some cool lighting too. You can actually change the color of the fog lights. This digital gauge cluster is pretty configurable between a few different settings. I've settled on this dual pod gauge for my driving this week, but if you go into your settings menu, so you scroll down here to meter style, and you can choose between sporty, smart, casual, and I think tough suits the character of this Trailhunter the best. Then you can go to meter type and choose between this dual pod, which I've selected, a single center pod, or just kind of a minimalist gauge cluster that gets rid of a lot of things. It just shows you information. We'll stick with this. That's like a more traditional look. You can choose whatever information you want to see in the center. I've gone with driving support. You can select turbo gauge, electric boost gauges, navigation, audio on either side, traction monitor, TPMS, aux gauges, engine trans temp. We'll go with our turbo gauge on the left and our iForce Max gauge on the right. Huge screen here for our infotainment. Wireless CarPlay connects pretty well. No issues with that this week. Settings, other information in here is pretty minimal. You can see your fuel economy and history, navigation. You can see I've averaged 18.1 miles to the gallon in this week. We've got physical controls for climate, heated ventilated seats, a heated steering wheel, nice big chunky honkin' shifter. Our controller down here for our drive modes. In this Trailhunter we get 3 drive modes, Sport, Normal, and Eco, and then you can go into Multi-Terrain Select, Crawl Control, Tow Haul. You've got 2 high, 4 high, 4 low. Everything is just perfectly placed right here. You've also got a front sway bar disconnect and a rear diff locker button right here, as well as a quick access camera view button, which is very nice to have. There's also trailer backup assist, backup guide. You can program that in when you add a trailer. Over to the left, we've got some pretty cool features too. We've got a button to dim our gauge cluster. However, it only dims the gauge and not the screen or the rest of the buttons in here. You have to go into a separate menu to dim this big honking screen that's going to be blinding you at night. Doesn't make any sense that this only controls that, but whatever. We have a really cool button here that adjusts your headlight height. So if you're towing or you've got a lot of stuff in the back and you're squatting in your Trailhunter a little bit, you can adjust that so you're not blinding motorists at night. We also have 3 aux ports here. Look at that. You can plug all sorts of things into that. A button for our light bar and fog lights. You can switch your fog lights between orange and white. Very cool. Button to pop the tailgate, 120 volt AC, traction off, auto high beams, and then your fuel tank. You've got 2 seat memory settings, as well as auto up down windows on all 4 corners. JBL sound system is standard. There's a removable speaker right here for that. And there's also this neat little accessory pod right here that comes out. This one is a light. It's very bright. Or red. Clever stuff. Let's pop the hood, take a look at this Snorkel intake. The fun thing about this Trailhunter is that it just makes boost noises all the time, and it actually sounds pretty cool. Not much in the way of engine covers here. There's the Trailhunter logo with the alternate intake. You can see that kind of masked off there, and then there's your Snorkel intake, and here's your 2.4 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with its hybrid components. This is rated for 23 miles per gallon in the city, 24 on the highway. Have I been averaging that this week? Not really. I've been more in the higher teens, between 17 and 19 miles to the gallon. At the end of the day, physics, this is a lifted 5,400 pound SUV. I don't know how close you'd actually be getting to EPA numbers unless if you're really trying to hypermile this thing. It is definitely a lot more efficient than the previous gen 4Runner, but that said, it's not a huge difference factoring in the weight and extra size and 33-inch all-terrain tires here. And then here are those rigid fog lights in white and in yellow. Actually makes quite a bit of difference to see yellow light when you're actually in the fog. Also, gotta show you guys the light bar. Doesn't look very bright right now and might not even show up very well on camera, but at night, this illuminates everything in front of you like the sun. It's very, very powerful and very, very bright. I love it. There is a ton of skid plating underneath this Trailhunter. We've got a rear diff skid, transmission, engine, right here, skid plates. Pretty much everything except for what looks like the fuel tank down there has a nice big solid aluminum skid plate, which is very nice. Recovery points right here. Again, I think it's very cool that Toyota set this up as a proper off-roader from the factory. All right, let's hop inside. We'll take this for a drive and give you guys some on-road driving impressions. And we'll turn off our light bar. All right, engine is off. At the end of the day, the hybrid component here just offers you more torque, better throttle response, and the engine will turn off and you can drive around at very, very light throttle and low speeds. Think like parking lot speeds, off throttle when you're approaching a light or going down a hill. But really, if you give it more than just a tap of the throttle, the engine's going to kick on, and thankfully that transition is pretty seamless. On the right gauge, you can see electric motor assistance there. That's our turbo boost gauge. And then if I roll down the passenger window, you can hear some sweet, sweet boost noises. With the window down, that's honestly pretty loud, but it sounds so cool. It hasn't gotten old this week. And with the window up, it quiets down significantly. Suspension feels pretty good on road. It's maybe not as soft as something like what's in my Ranger Raptor, but it rides decently well. I'm kind of curious as to why they went with 18-inch wheels here instead of 17-inch wheels. I feel like I could use a little bit more sidewall on these 33-inch tires, but maybe that was to accommodate larger brakes. Don't really know. No sunroof in this Trailhunter because we have that big roof rack on the top of this. It's set far enough back that it doesn't really create any extra wind noise in the cabin. I know a lot of comments are going to be bemoaning the loss of the old 4-liter V6. Honestly, if you guys love the 4-liter V6, go out and buy a newer 5th gen 4Runner. They are plentiful. If you're questioning the reliability of the new 6th gen, wait a few years and run a 5th gen for a little while. They are still around and you can find good deals on them because they haven't really depreciated much and they probably won't. So that's a solid investment. However, this new iForce Max powertrain really does drive well. The 8-speed auto tuning is fantastic. It's perfectly paired with the extra torque from this 2.4 turbo and the hybrid system. There is just a ton of power here and a ton of torque, and the drivability here is just it's a big improvement, honestly, from the old 4-liter V6, which was a fantastic engine, but to be honest, at altitude, going up a hill, it was always hunting gears, always downshifting. There's plenty of power here to work with, and from a drivability standpoint, it feels fantastic. I really don't have a lot of complaints about this powertrain. It never feels overstressed. I have no doubts that this could tow 6,000 pounds without any complaints. It's fast enough to be fun, but it's also a nice, quiet powertrain as well. On the highway, this 4Runner is pretty quiet. You can hear a little bit of a wind howl from the rack, but it's not too bad. Not as bad as it used to be with the larger raised roof rails on the 5th gen 4Runner. There's always kind of this ever-present intake whoosh from the Snorkel, especially when you're on throttle going up a hill or an incline. Maybe a slight roar from these all-terrain tires, but still, it's pretty quiet in here. The JBL sound system here is decent. I've definitely heard better JBL systems in the Toyota lineup, from the Highlander or the Crown Signia, for example. But this still gets the job done. Maybe we'll give you guys a sound system test at the end of this video. Seats, super comfortable. Driving position is perfect. I can get nice and low. I can get nice and high. I have plenty of headroom here because there's, again, no sunroof, and there's a little bit of a bump out right here. Lots of nice places to rest your arms. Adaptive cruise control works great. You can change your following distance settings very easily there, and set your lane centering right here. All of this button configuration stuff works out well. I do still miss the cruise control stock. We had one of those a few weeks ago with the GR86 Hakone edition, but I guess once you get familiarized with what buttons do which function, this is a good system too. I like that everything here on the steering wheel is clearly separated, and you can just kind of feel it out. You got your volume controller here, track selection down here. Digital rear view mirror, a little bit of adjustability with this, up and down, and then just looking out of the back with the mirror on its own, you have great visibility out of the back of this 4Runner, as you'd expect. All right, what do you guys think? Sport mode, crack the passenger window. Let's make some boost noises. I wish they gave us paddle shifters. It's kind of a strange decision that they didn't. There's a sport mode for the transmission. That'll just kind of set the maximum or the minimum gear. I think in these more enthusiast-oriented products, it would be nice if Toyota gave us a manual lockout and some paddle shifters to do Baja things in our 4Runner. Let's do some of that again with the window up. Pretty rough, bumpy section of road here. NVH feels good. It's quiet over the bumps. Soaks up the little impacts very well. Power here is really linear, and there's a lot of torque down low. Still, it doesn't feel as fast as 323 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque might suggest on paper, and part of that is probably just the weight of this thing. Still, it's quick enough to get out of its own way, have some fun with, and too high with everything off, and plenty of power to merge and tow and pass other vehicles. This hybrid powertrain also feels a little bit more refined maybe than just the turbocharged unit in the SR5 or the TRD off-road. Brakes are powerful. You can feel maybe a little bit of regenerative hybrid grabbiness from the pedal in this. There's a bit more bite at lower speeds than you would have with a non-hybrid system. The steering wheel is enormous. Feels like you're just kind of piloting around a bus or something. still in sport mode. Throttle mapping's pretty aggressive in that mode. Honestly, I've been driving this around a lot in eco mode. Engine will shut off, going down a hill, off throttle. Save a little bit of fuel that way. Forward and side visibility here is good. And honestly, just as a vehicle to live with and drive on a regular basis, this new 4Runner, it's nice. It's kind of fun. It's cool. You feel great driving this thing around. Really, the biggest complaint that I have here is just the price. I think the best value with the new 4Runner is definitely the new SR5. It's just kind of hard to beat that thing at low to mid 40s. But if you're going to be doing a lot of this stuff already to your 4Runner, if you're going to be overlanding, if you're going to be going off-road, those parts are not cheap. And here, you just get it all from the factory with a backed warranty, which is really nice. How does this compare to the previous generation TRD Pro that we got? I think overall there's more capability here. The new MTS systems, the new crawl control, the traction control is a much better developed system. It's not clicking away all the time. It's much smoother. It operates better. We still get a locking rear differential here. It's nice to have front sway bar disconnect off-road. This definitely feels like a more modern product. How does it compare to my Ranger Raptor? Well, it doesn't quite have the same power. I feel like the Ranger Raptor just has some of the best noise isolation over really rough terrain that I've ever experienced. Ford just gets that right. I don't know if it's the bushings in the chassis, or it's just kind of some of the frame rigidity there, but you take that Ranger Raptor over some really rough washboarding or harsh terrain off-road, and it's just unfazed. You don't feel it. You don't hear it. And in this, there's still some rattles. There's some shakes. It kind of jars the cabin a little bit. Of course, also the Ranger Raptor's significantly less expensive than this. It doesn't come with as many standard features, but out the door for around $57,000. That's pretty amazing value and very hard to beat, and that's one of the reasons why I bought one. Still, that said, this is the closest any Toyota product has ever gotten to what Ford has done with their Raptor products. And yeah, this isn't the TRD Pro, which is kind of more intended for higher speed off-roading. This is your overlanding rig, this is your rock crawler, this is your camping adventure mobile. I still think the Trailhunter is probably the trim to go with between the TRD Pro and this, depending on what you're going to be using it for, but this just seems like the most versatile off-road focused version of the new 4Runner. It's honestly very charming for a new vehicle in 2025. It's got some personality. It feels like an enthusiast product. Like Toyota cared about how people are going to be using these and what they're going to be doing with them while they were developing it. It's just cool. I dig it. Are they going to sell a ton of Trailhunters at close to $70,000? Probably not. But if you can foot the bill, it is a very neat vehicle to drive and experience and live with. Otherwise, I think there's probably better value to be had for most people's use case scenarios with the TRD off-road or the off-road premium or just a base SR5 four-wheel drive. Let's kick this into sport mode one more time and go around a corner. Hard on the brakes, good bite here. Turning in. Toyos are complaining a little bit, but we still have decent mechanical grip here. Suspension is flat. And lots of turbo whooshing noises up the hill. Ride quality here is very, very good once you get some speed under the suspension. It just smooths everything out. If you're desert running this, Bajaing it over longer distances, these shocks don't have the cooling capacity of the Fox dampers in the TRD Pro. So you might see some degradation in ride quality over 30 minutes, 45 minutes of driving hard off-road. But still, I'm very happy with the suspension setup. These OME shocks are just fantastic. Tuned really, really well for this 4Runner. And with around 10 inches of ground clearance here, that'll get you through some pretty sticky situations. Add in all the skid plating, the body protection underneath, and yeah, this thing can wheel. Complaints? This wireless charger is almost useless with my phone case off on my iPhone 13 Pro or whatever it is. It barely stays on there, stays charged, especially with the camera bump. It would have been nice to get hood struts for the money. This has a 19-gallon fuel tank. Your mileage may vary on this. Right now, at a little over 3/4 of a tank, I'm getting an estimate of 222 miles range, which isn't great. I mean, if you're driving this slowly, hypermiling a little bit, you might eke out low to mid-20s in this new 4Runner, and that should give you a decent range of over 400 miles per tank. So road trip mileage might be good, around town mileage might not be so good. It would be nice to have a slightly larger tank in these, but I don't know, around between 300 to 400 miles of range, I guess, is about average of what most people get. If you're going to be off-roading this, overlanding it, you're going to be carrying around a bunch of fuel cans anyway, so I guess that's just the way it is. A little bit of city driving here. Engine shutting off at lower speeds. Sometimes you can maintain a little bit of speed on very, very light throttle through like neighborhoods or parking lots. Right now we're actually accelerating a little bit using the hybrid battery pack and using the electric motor. A little bit of throttle, kicks the engine on, and again, that transition is completely seamless. Coasting here again, engine turns off. You can hear some regen braking with light brake pedal application. Overall, this hybrid powertrain is tuned really, really well. It still feels kind of rugged and industrial, but refined at the same time. And aside from the revs just dropping to 0, you don't really know that the engine has been turned off. This is kind of where this hybrid powertrain comes into its own in low-speed city driving environments where you can really save a lot of fuel with just the hybrid system turning everything off and running on electric motor. Sitting here about 24, 25 miles an hour, just maintaining our speed with that electric motor. Steering is nice at lower speeds, not too light, not too heavy. Again, this wheel just feels massive though. Ride quality is really good at lower speeds too. Nothing but good things to say about the suspension, if I'm being honest. Honestly, aside from price, I'm struggling to come up with any complaints that I have about this thing. The ride is fantastic. The powertrain, it really feels great. It's powerful and it's smooth. I don't think the snorkel is going to get annoying. It's just always kind of there. If you come from the tuner scene, you know, you've had turbocharged vehicles in the past with an intake or maybe a little bit larger of a turbo. That's what this sounds like. It's cool. It's fun. I like it. With the windows up, it's just in the background. And with the window down, it does sound kind of ridiculous. I like all the physical buttons and controls with this interior. Ergonomically, this is just a great place, a great cabin vehicle to drive and use and operate. I feel like almost every new vehicle that I drive these days, I have complaints about ergonomics and user interface and usability, and I don't have any of those here. Toyota's done a really nice job designing this cabin and figuring the layout of everything and just giving you freaking physical controls. It's great. I get it. The 5th gen 4Runner was an absolute legend. They will still be around for many, many years to come, probably many decades to come. They're overbuilt, understressed, reliable workhorses. Reliability here is unproven. We don't know. It's a brand new product. If you have any questions, go buy a 5th gen or wait a few years for Toyota to sort some things out with this. But if that's not a major concern for you, this is a great 4Runner. It's a great product from Toyota. The Trailhunter is really cool. And I am a big fan of the new 4Runner. It's a shame it's not selling well, but probably some of that is just due to some of the price increases. However, the lower trims aren't as expensive. The price deltas, the changes between the current gen and the 5th gen aren't as much with the lower trims, which is nice. Things start to get a little bit expensive here, but again, this overlanding off-roading space is not cheap. You can go out and get a Jeep Wrangler for more than this, or a Gladiator for about the same money. And this 4Runner offers so much more in terms of comfort and drivability. Like this thing, I wouldn't hesitate to drive this across the country. It's that comfortable. Whereas a Jeep, I would question whether I'd want to drive it a couple hours away to the sand dunes. You know, this is just a nice overall daily driver vehicle. The refinement, comfort factor on road, given the off-road capability here, is fantastic, and that's one reason you're paying a little bit more money for this thing. This mineral Everest color looks pretty cool too, especially on the bronze wheels. Am I completely sold on the design of this new 4Runner? It's a little bit much. There's a lot of styling going on. It's chunky, but I think it'll grow on us. If I had to spend 70 grand on the GX, the Land Cruiser, or 4Runner, this might be my top choice if I'm being honest. I love the new GX, but I don't know, I like the physical controls in this. I like the usability. I like that you pretty much get everything you could possibly want for an off-road capable vehicle in this Trailhunter trim. There's a certain charm here to the new 4Runner and the way it drives and the way it feels. Between the three, this would probably be my top pick. Either this or a TRD Pro. All right, let's wrap up here. Those are my thoughts. We'll give you guys a quick JBL sound system test, and that'll be it for a street drive on this 2025 Toyota 4Runner Trailhunter. Infotainment takes a minute to start up sometimes. There we go. CarPlay connects pretty quickly though. And here we are. Big honking volume knob, front and center. Guess we could use a track selection control for the passenger, but that's all right. Again, the JBL here, it's not blowing me away, but it gets a pass. It's decent for what it is. All right, there's an on-road drive of the 2025 4Runner Trailhunter. If you want to see some off-roading footage, we have a couple videos on this and the TRD Pro on the channel. Just search the TheTopher 4Runner Trailhunter off-road and you'll find it. One of many 4Runner videos we have now. We're trying to equal the number of Tacoma videos that we have eventually, but yeah, we've had a lot of time behind the wheel of these at Toyota events. But again, this is kind of the first time I've spent extended living with time behind the wheel in one of these new 4Runners, and it's been a very nice vehicle to live with and drive. I would definitely consider actually buying one of these someday. It's just great. Right now, I really enjoy the Ranger Raptor. I really enjoy having a truck, but something like this it would really fit the bill in the future someday. So anyway, personally, I like this thing a lot. I think it's a great product. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.